Good afternoon. Well, clearly, as you all know, and as you can see here, among the most debated topics in literature on evolutionary biology are the levels at which natural selection operates and the rate of change with which evolution often works. In this specific field of human social science, anthropology and archaeology have used evolutionary notions since the 19th century, but the theoretical and methodological framework has only been developed in the last 3 decades. And further empirical work is still required to test many of the current proposals. The main aim of this work is to formulate and test some of these theoretical proposals, particularly group selection and punctuate equilibrium models in the specific field of human culture using the archaeological record. The working hypotheses are that selection usually operates at an interdemic level among human population and communities. In second place, that interdemic selection between human population often is correlated with an increase of social hierarchy within groups. And in the third place, that the rate of cultural change can be highly variable depending on the variation within population and of course on their context. And that according to that diversity of population and to the integration and inclusivity of the structure of cultural system that involve the different kind of cultural transmission, a cascade effect can take place in which the rate of change is fast. The data considered here are derived from the archaeological record of the population of 4th and 3rd millennia BC in the southwest of the Iberian Peninsula, more specifically those located in the areas of the Portuguese Alentejo and the Spanish Extremadura. This data seem appropriate for our purpose, since the archaeological record related to these societies displays many important changes over a short period of time between late Neolithic and the beginning of Copper Age. Specifically, the considered aspects here are demography, for which variables are number of settlements, size of settlements, and spatial dispersion or pattern of settlement. Warfare technology, for which variables are present, absent of ditches, and walls surrounding settlements, and present or absent of weapons. And finally, hierarchy of social status, for which variables are present of differentiated space within settlements, present, absent of social prestige objects, and finally, a spatial dispersion of social prestige objects. The techniques and methods are taxonomic grouping to define the typologies of settlements and artifacts, chronological grouping of material culture and archaeological sites to establish temporal sequences of the data, geographic plotting of the data to define spatial distributions at 2 different scales, interdemic level and intrademic levels, and finally quantitative and dispersion analysis of the data. Well, a summary of the results is shown in this table, comparing basically the archaeological record of the 4th millennium and the record of the 3rd millennium BC, basically the first half of the 3rd millennium BC. And we're going to go deeply in this in the next minute, but for the moment you can see the large difference between the 2 records. So in respect to number of settlements, they are really, really low and scarce in Neolithic population, 4 millennium population, very high and dense in 3rd millennium BC. The site is small, no more than 1 hectare for settlement in the 4th millennium, and they are medium and large for the 3rd millennium. Some of them is around 19 and 100 hectares. The spatial pattern of settlement is different, is uniform in 4 millennium and is asymmetric, or it has territorial patterns. The settlement of 3rd millennium, the most of them has ditches of walls surround the settlement. This not happen in 4 millennium. There are some weapons in the 3rd millennium and different about space in settlement. It is usual in 3rd millennium. It not happen at all in 4 millennium, and it like this as well with the assistant the presence of social prestige objects, who is with this bias asymmetric in terms of space at both interdemic, both an interdemic level and within settlement. So we're going to go one by one to this result, and the most relevant trends to highlight from the available data are the important changes that take place in the early 3rd millennium BC. So the significant increase of the number of settlements, you can see here with this symbol. I can move it. With this symbol are the 4 millennium settlements, and there are no more than 6, 8 in all of the considered area that we have studied. And most of them are the date and at 3rd millennium BC.
What were they doing?
Sorry?
Technologically, what were they doing? Agriculture?
Yeah, the 4 millennium. Yeah. No,
No,
they are farming societies, and they have basically farming societies. Mm-hmm. And the significant increase of the size in the of many settlements. So you can see here a gradation in terms of different size. The development of communitarian territorial spatial patterns of settlements according to the different size and sometimes in function. So this is, you already have seen it. And how the black squares indicate settlement, who are the fortified one, are has a clear pattern in several areas. So they are no uniform dispersed along the territory. So that is because some authors have proposed different politically organized landscape or territories along the southwest of the Iberian Peninsula. Another relevant trend is the generalization of ditches and usually walls and bastions surrounding many settlements. Have you already seen? And well, this is just only a sample of some of the settlements that we have excavated, and all of the most of them are fortified with walls and fortified entrance and so on. Another trend will be the increase of weapons, such as in the number of arrowheads and the emergence of new metal weapons like daggers, javelin, spear tips, and metal axes, etc. that they know in Neolithic, in the 4 millennium population. The emergence of differentiated areas with these settlements, such as the presence of citadels and other more or less concentric ditches and walls, as you can see there. The emergence of some clear material character related to social prestige, And finally, a biased asymmetric spatial dispersion of these prestige objects, both at interdemic and intrademic scales. Because you can see all of the settlements dated in a 3rd millennium BC that we have documented for the moment, and just only a few of them, around 15–20%, have this kind of prestige objects. And this map is based on the distribution of bell beaker pottery, so supposedly it's a prestige object. And you can see it has blue color, it's maritime type of bell beaker. It's only in 7–8 settlements of several hundreds that we have. Conclusions. Then let's review one by one our hypotheses in the light of these results and see if this can therefore be maintained or rejected. In the first place, the acceleration usually operates at an interdemic level among human population and communities. We have to say that the emergence in the 3rd millennium BC of territorial patterns indicates the development of communities who compete between each other and define themselves. And this is illustrated, for example, by the correlation between different types of idols and regional cultural areas. Secondly, that interdemic selection between human population often is correlated with an increase of social hierarchy within groups. This is corroborated by the emergence of internal enclosure and a spatial difference within settlements, and by the biased distribution of prestige material culture, mainly located in citadels, in the center of settlement, and not in all of the settlement at all. In third place, that the rate of cultural change can be highly variable, depending on the variation with the populations and on their context and circumstance, and that according to the diversity of populations and to the integration and inclusivity to the structure of cultural system, a cascade effect can take place in which the rate of change is fast. So, in this sense, the larger size, the greater diversity, and the increased contact between the population of the 3rd millennium BC seem to be key factors for the faster evolutionary change of these populations compared to the previous Neolithic ones, which had largely remained in evolutionary stasis with no significant change for at least 2,000 of years. About the discussion, we have to ask ourselves, what are the historical factors that produce the conjunction of the 3 previous elements, interdemic selection, social hierarchy, and the greater rate of change, and produce the cascade effect of rapid cultural change in the population of Copper Age? And what is the selectionist Darwinian explanation for the fast replacement of the population with Neolithic economic system by population with calculated producing economies? According to the archaeological record, in the transition from the 4th to 3rd millennium BC, an intensive practice of farming emerged, which led to a remarkable demographic expansion, due to which all of the considered territory became densely occupied. This pressure created a significant constraints on the available resource, fertile land, mineral resources, etc., and a strong competition between populations. In this competitive environment between human groups, there is a remarkable spontaneous bias towards the increase of internal diversity, of population has more competitive and efficient units, and therefore there is a differential reproduction of the population with greater social and labor variation, which have, for example, a greater technological knowledge and warfare skills. And these traits ensure the greater adaptive fitness and a faster rate of change. Also, this circumstance saw the emergence of some cooperative alliances between different populations that led to regional human communities that functioned as larger selective units, such as organized politically territories against other communities throughout the southwest of the Iberian Peninsula. So to finish, the greater diversity of the population of the 3rd millennium BC and their compartmentalized and hierarchical structure displayed an inclusive pattern of levels formed by individuals like social and ritual leaders, parental families, suprafamiliar clans, such as warriors, and social sector, like, for example, craft sectors, settlements, and regional community group, etc. So this overall process of increasing complexity was marked by 2 stages around 3000 BC and 2700 BC. And this cultural process changed again remarkably at the end of the 3rd millennium BC with the beginning of the early Bronze Age. So that's all. Thank you very much for your attention.